Okay, people. So I have got with me one of my favorite people in the goddamn world. It's Miss Cindy Cooper Blair, who is an incredible artist, people. Cindy, thank you for jumping on.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
for having me. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And
Ah,
it's good to
no
see you.
worries. Yeah, yeah, it just feels like a long ass time. I can't think of. I was trying to think the last time that I saw you, and that was 2019, I think, right?
Like in person?
Yeah, yeah.
In person, that was 2018. We
Was
came the
that
summer of
2018?
2018. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Whew. Yeah, time just fuck. Yeah, time. I just feel like there's everything just kind of has merged and disappeared. I feel there's things happened at different times when they did not. It's
Yeah,
weird.
it's
It's
madness.
weird.
It's madness. I
Mm.
just I just know because I think I had a memory come up yesterday on Facebook. Not yesterday, but in August, because we were there in
Yeah,
August.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. But yeah, since you've just been kicking ass, man, like just producing some really incredible things.
Yeah, the past year has been really kind of awfully amazing. you know,
So
amazing in the
yeah,
studio and.
so you're an artist, right? And the, over the last few years, it looks like you've been kind of concentrating a lot on light art and
Mhm.
sculptures, right? So what was kind of your base? Because I remember when I first met you, you were like a teacher. So what did you study and how the hell did you get to this point?
So well, I don't know how far you want me to go back, but my original training was in painting and drawing. That was my original degree, and that's what I got my master's in, um, my MFA. But while I was in graduate school, there was a really wonderful sculpture teacher at SUNY Albany where I got my MFA, and his name was Ed Mayer. And I took an elective under him, a sculpture elective. And I think they weren't supposed to, but he gave me like a little studio in the sculpture annex. And that ended up being quite controversial later on that like the teacher got mad. But I think that kind of started, and I had some really good sculpture electives in my undergrad as well. And I always enjoyed them. Um, I wouldn't say I was good when I left graduate school at sculpting, but it definitely planted a seed. And then many years later, when I went back to get my teaching certification through Pratt, um, there was the first semester I was there. It's just kind of a roundabout story, but the first semester I was there, they said, you're going to actually start in South Africa and you're going to be teaching in South Africa. And I said, and I was terrified because I was like, well, I've never taught anybody anything. And now, yeah, I was just really scared. Um, but one of the things that happened in South Africa was that they insisted that we be teaching artists so that we be learning art while we're learning to teach art.
Mm.
And so the teacher that I had was Theodora Stipatares, and she taught puppetry. She's amazing.
Ah.
Um, and just through her, I realized that I really am more alive and more exciting when I'm working in 3D than when I'm working in 2D. And so that really changed everything for me. Um, and I think it had a lot to do with how she was teaching me and how she was supporting me and sort of nurturing that sculptor inside of me that really made me finally realize that. And
I mean, can I just say that's really interesting
yeah,
because oh gosh, man,
The Pratt Ed program, art ed program, I can't say enough nice things. It's art and design education. I can't say enough nice things about it. But I'm sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
Because I think one of the first times I came to Louisiana to see you, you were doing an illuminated parade,
Yeah, we still,
and
well, yeah, we do those.
all the different kind of like the puppetry kind of stuff that you created for that was incredible.
Yeah, and that
It
doesn't
was
happen without
it was
Theodora.
amazing.
Yeah, that doesn't happen without Theodora at all. So,
Ah.
so yeah, because she introduced me to giant puppetry and the bread and puppet theater, bread and puppet theater, and in New York, and all these things that I had no idea. And she did so her productions that she does at La Mama Theater in New York, these experimental productions, they're like, she has tiny shadow puppets, and then she'll have these big giant puppets. Um, so it really sort of excited my imagination. And then there's another artist that came into play while I was at the museum, Chantel Ritter, who does these illuminated processions. She does them, I think, in different places, but they initially started for her on the Atlanta Beltline to raise awareness and money for that area of Atlanta.
Mm.
So I think what inspired me was that I think she started with maybe like 100 people, and now there's like 60,000 people that show up for these processions. Um, so just those two things combined, when I started working at the museum and really this community became so important to me, seeing Chantel um, energize a community like that and do this beautiful thing for them really got me excited. And I was like, well, I think I can do that. And so I learned a lot from Chantel, not personally, like I don't know her, but just thank God for the internet, because she was great about sharing information too. I did reach out to her. So those two artists really, I think, have a lot to do with what I'm doing right now.
Okay, but okay, because you kind of go from South Africa, and then you're just like, oh yeah, so I was just like, oh yeah, I think I can do that, which is crazy, right?
Well, it
So
took
you
me a
go,
few years to get to
yes,
that
it's a few
place.
years, but you go from South Africa,
Yeah.
right, where you suddenly the kernel of this idea kind of really takes root,
Yeah.
right? So you see all of that, and then eventually the journey continues and takes you to the muse in Alexandria, right?
Yeah,
But
so that's our teen club. Um, so yeah, so because I had this teaching certification from Pratt, and that gets me into the Alexandria Museum of Art, because
mm,
I moved down here. I'd been in New York City. I taught for a year at a charter school there. And then I just teaching art / social studies, which is a whole other thing. But because I had that, because honestly, I had Pratt on my resume. I had that as part of the Pratt program. I did teach for a semester in museums and galleries, and I learned from all the museum educators in Manhattan, basically.
yeah.
That was a great program, or it was really a class, but it was a whole semester. And I shared with them that I had done that. And because I had learned also at Pratt, I'd learned visual thinking strategies, um, which is its own company and program. And so those things actually were, as being part of that interview process and on my resume, my boss was like, yeah, we need those things here. So come work with us.
Mm.
And
Like
yeah, so that's how that happened.
they need those things there, but practically, right? Practically, what had you done in the real world, right? What was your big experience of implementing some of these things?
Well, honestly, not a lot. Like I hadn't really done, um, I'd always made art, but and I had studied, but I have to credit our director for taking a chance on me, seeing those things in the resume, and then just saying, okay, yeah, like come teach for us. And I don't think either one of us, there wasn't anything that said, oh, you're going to make illuminated processions or you're going to, uh, we knew we'd have a visual thinking strategies program at the museum. We knew that. And we knew that I would get more training over the years. We knew that I would be teaching family classes. And initially, that's really all I was brought on to do. And my director was in a place where she was trying to grow the museum and make us valuable to the community. And so when I would find a place that I felt like there was a need, like the teen program, I'd say, like, well, what if we started, or, the great thing is I would go to these NAEA, National Art Educator Association conferences, and you'd learn so much from, I had notebooks full of notes from there, and they would talk about, a lot of museums were doing these teen programs, these free teen programs where teens could have a voice and decide, what they wanted to do. And I was like, well, I think we need to do that. Like, I was substitute teaching in schools because at the time I was only part-time at the museum. So I was substitute teaching at this high school very often. And the kids were like, hey, what if we had, it was really like, I think it came from the kids. They were like, what if we had a club? What if we made art at the museum? And I was like, yeah, like, let's see if I can make that happen. It all kind of came together. Those things all sort of came together. And so I think the teen club started maybe a year after I started at the museum. I had a program for people with Alzheimer's that I basically copied from MoMA in New York. They were actually trying to spread the program. So I had them come and teach me how to do that. They had a grant to go to museums and teach people how to do that. So they came and taught me, and I did that for, we did do that one for a little while. It's been kind of hard to keep that one going, but and then, the expressive therapy program was, that happened because of the Meet Me program we had for people dealing with Alzheimer's. The VA was our regular group, and they would bring veterans who were dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's, and they would come and we'd do these tours and art making activities with them. And then so the VA knew of me at that point, and they knew the museum. And so they said, hey, we have a program. We'd like to do something with our PTSD patients. Do you think you'd be willing to do art therapy? I said, well, I'm not an art therapist. I'm not an art therapist. But I'd be happy to make art with them. And they said, well, we'll make sure that you have a social worker or a psychologist with you. And that worked out really, really well. And
okay,
really
hold on.
I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead.
Hold on, right? Because you are irritating the hell out of me right now. People, what you need to understand, Cindy is one of the most humble motherfucking people I know, right? I will tell you this. When I came to goddamn Louisiana, right?
That's how we refer to it too.
Now, we talk about, like, people often talk about how they want to make an impact on the world, right? And, oh yeah, no, I really want people to know what I do, and, people be influenced by the stuff I do, right? I came to Louisiana, and whoever I met, they couldn't speak highly enough of this goddamn woman, right?
Really
just everyone, the kids, right? I spoke to kids, and people, not in a creepy way. I just went and talked to kids, and they would just talk about. I was like, oh man, that's incredible. What are you doing? They'd be like, oh yeah, no, Cindy, she told us how to do this. No, well, they'd be like, Miss Cindy. And it was so cute. Like, Miss Cindy, and she told us how to do this, and we're doing this, and she's encouraging me to do this stuff. Like, you talk to local businesses. There was a Tamp and Grind. Is that Tamp and Grind, man. The people in there love her. You had artwork on the lampposts and the town. Everywhere you go, they were talking about. I spoke to some vets they just love this woman. This woman has impacted her local community so much. And I'm not just saying that because I know and love this woman. You know what I mean? Because if I could take the piss out of her, I would do that right now. You know what I'm saying? But everything is just so for real. Just the work that you have done in your community and the way everyone just throughout the procession, right? There was not, there's usually with certain things, people, you bump into those cranky people and be like, huh, she thinks she's so good.
I'm sure
She
there are
don't
people who
know
say
shit.
that.
There was people, no one
Legit,
said
there are
anything.
people who say that.
No one was saying anything bad. Everyone was just like, the way she is, like, this is, I think it was the second or third year I came to this thing, and just the way people are just like, the way this has impacted this community, the way it has brought everyone together, it's incredible. So, yo, you need to take a goddamn motherfucking bow, because what you have done is insane. And every year it seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, you know what I mean? Like the work you do with the vets, the kids, like just the local community as a whole, hey, it's definitely noticed.
Yeah,
It's
I love
definitely
this community.
noticed.
And it's you know, for so long I was in New York, and I really wasn't able to do anything like this because, you know, I had a day job that, I mean, I worked at a hedge fund, which is lovely. I mean, they were great to me. They were really kind to me, and so that's good. But you know, people would talk about doing volunteer work. Well, I was a single mom working a lot, and um you know, in New York, more than anything, your commute kills you. So I wasn't making art. I wasn't doing anything, and I really didn't feel like what I did until I worked at the charter school. That was, oh, I enjoyed working with the kids. Like I
Yeah.
love working with the kids. But
And we should say, right?
I'm not.
Before Black Panther was the multi-million billion-dollar movie, right? Before everyone is going Wakanda forever
Right.
and trying to pretend that it was their favorite goddamn character, young Cindy made her son a Black Panther costume for Halloween.
Well, I guess I made his life better, hopefully. But
But there was little things like that that
yeah,
seemed to help
yeah,
keep you energized. Because even then, when I was talking with you, like you know, you're in certain jobs and relationships that weren't working, you still were, you there was always still that energy about you when you were talking about your art and the
yeah.
stuff you were doing and taking those opportunities, like, you know, the work at Marvel and stuff like that. It's just, you seem to take these opportunities, right? And even when, you know, there's been tough difficulties, barriers, you haven't let it stop you, and you just persevere, you push forward, and you take things to that next level, right? So what is the stuff that keeps you going?
I mean, I don't know. Like I try to find joy where I can, you know. And yeah, I think even in, I mean, I've had some pretty dark times, you know that. But I just kind of, I used to do this thing, and I talked to my son about this not too long ago, probably a year ago or so. But I used to do this thing where if I was going through a rough time, I would, and this was when I was really young, like probably before I was a teenager. I'd have my heart hurt about something, you know, and I would think, well, I'm going to be excited today because I get to wear that shirt that I like. And even at the tender age of 10, I knew that that was stupid. I knew that, you know, a shirt isn't something to be excited about. But I decided that I was going to be excited about wearing that shirt, that that was going to be a reason to kind of move forward. And so I think that that's what I do. I think I started practicing that at a really young age. And so like just, and it's not easy sometimes, like, but I think that's what I do. And making things, being able to make things and teach other people how to make things has really helped me in times when, and definitely now being part of a community, the community that I'm part of, there's such a beautiful arts community here. And so just that creativity and um, being able to access it or just find a little bit of joy in something banal or foolish, I think it helps me a lot. It helps me a lot. And, you can find joy in big things too, obviously, but just finding in those little things, like I'm going to get to wear those stupid earrings today, or I'm going to get to, I'm going to get to work with the veterans today, just keeps me going. Things are great now. There's nothing, everything's really good. But even during COVID, which is really when I started I had gotten very disciplined in my art making the year or two prior to that. Really probably 3 years prior to that. I had started really trying to have a routine in the studio. And for about 6 months after lockdown, I was completely and totally, I didn't make art. I was doodling. I tried to make sure I was doodling, and that kind of helped keep my anxiety at bay. But it was, I was learning a whole bunch of new skills at work. And I was working from home, which I was blessed to be able to do. But I didn't really sculpt for 6 months. And then once I started sculpting in lockdown, I was just, I couldn't stay out of the studio. It's been much, I found a new medium, and I just kind of hit my stride, I think, as far as like the routine and the rhythm of it.
Yeah. So do you think like the importance of having a space to create has been something that has really helped your development?
It has. It has. I think I would have done it. I think I would have done it anyway. But given that now I have a room in the house where I have a lot of friends who have studios outside their house, and that's important for them. And I think that at some point it would be nice to have a separate space outside of the house, but I know that I'm always going to need something at the house as well, because I am not a morning person. And sometimes getting dressed I don't want to have any barriers to making art. So whatever the barrier is, let's get rid of that. So like if I wake up, I want to just like on a Saturday, you get up, you drink your coffee, you eat breakfast, you kind of wake up slowly. And then it's like, if I said, well, I've got to put on clothes and everything and then get in a car and get out of the house, that would be a barrier. So if I can just walk right into this room, teeth unbrushed, hair undone, just in my yoga pant pajamas, and just go right into working, then that's important for me. And that's how I get anything done.
And what has been the thing that has kept you innovating, right? Because I think the fact, like, so you moved to the Muse, which is, there was a point where like you always wanted to do art, right? You always wanted to be creative, but I don't think you could even have envisioned yourself working in some place like the Muse. So once you get there, right, that's a huge thing. You're working in this Muse. You're directing how they communicate with their community. For a lot of people, that's it. That's enough. You've reached the mountaintop, but then you start to implement different things. like the vets, like
Mhm.
the children's program, like the community work, like the mural. You know what I mean? Like the huge VD art mural. And then I remember when it either got defaced or taken down. I was like, oh, what are you gonna do? You're like, oh, we're gonna do another one. You know, we
That
sorted it
mural
out.
was just
But
that
you
mural was
don't
just
let
something that
those
I
things
did with my
stop
friends.
you.
Like I just wanted to, yeah, I don't know. Like I've just always I gotta keep my hands busy, you know, like it's not, and the museum for me is separate from, it's not separate, but it is, you know, and I work really hard to make sure I have a balance between what I'm doing at home in my studio and what I'm doing at the museum. Used to not be separate. I used to burn myself real hard at the museum. And there's like, we're a small staff. I think what a lot of people don't understand about particularly small museums like ours, you know, if you look at your cultural institutions, I don't know how it is in England, but most of them here are nonprofits,
Yeah.
which really is just code for like we survive on grants and memberships. And and the employees don't get paid loads. I mean, I think it's probably even sort of gauche to have that conversation, but I'm sorry. I think it's important and it needs to be happening because there are a lot of people working very hard for not a lot of money. And a lot of grantors don't want the funds to go towards salaries. And the consequences of that are that you have people working for sometimes below poverty level. Now I'm not in that place, but so but I love the work so much that sometimes in the past I have given to the point where like you know, after we have these big fundraisers and a lot of times a procession will be before that fundraiser, you know, we have the
Mm.
dragon boat races and the procession is the day before, and I am working on both of the things, mostly the procession, but like afterwards I will be sick, you know, and I have coworkers that will be sick. People are working themselves to illness, and it's very hard to be creative when you're ill. So I try really hard now to have a balance. Um, yeah, yeah, I do. I try really hard to make sure that um, that I'm making time for my personal art and that I'm also giving everything I can at the museum in balance with that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I think I've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Because you've started to do like just all the things you've started to do at the museum, but at the same time, your sculpture work is just going from strength to strength, you know, and you start to do these other things like the earrings and now the miniature sculptures, right? And you're always looking for these new techniques to try and, you know, see if you can
Yeah.
incorporate in your work, which is fascinating. Because even though you're saying you've been paring it down, trying to make sure that you don't do too much, it
Right.
still looks like there is, because you know you do the Thoughtful Fridays and the behind the scene, the vault tours, which I always love to see, you know, and be like,
Yeah.
you take a piece of art and you talk about that art, the interviews with all the different creatives in your community.
Well,
It's a lot.
all that, all the video works, and that's what I was talking about when I was saying that during the lockdown here, I had to learn new skills at work because we had we had to take all of our educational programming and put it online. So that meant that I had to learn how to edit video and how to do sound um and how to, you know, and I had to think up ideas that would resonate with people. I had to figure out what people wanted in my community, and you know, and then we could reach a broader audience. And so that hasn't really stopped. It's changed a little bit since the world opened back up, but but yeah, so yeah, the vault peaks and things like that is sort of an offshoot of that. All the little mini videos and all the, I mean, I wouldn't be on TikTok right now if it weren't for that. And it's cool. I mean, it's exciting to learn new things. I think that's part of, you're asking about how you get through hard times. And I think the excitement of learning new things is something that's important to me. And it's how it has become. I don't think it always was, but once I started learning how to teach, I think um, it really it sort of recharged my lifelong learning batteries. I get really excited about materials. I get really excited about trying new stuff. Um, I've done several workshops with my teens lately so the programming that I do with the teens, I allow them to get together once a year and brainstorm ideas. So the programming I do for them it doesn't come from me or the museum, it comes from them. They say, "Oh, I want to learn how to cast resin, or I want to learn how to we want to do a Victorian murder mystery party play." And so I say, okay, and then I pull from the community and I'm like, who can help me teach these kids how to write a murder mystery play? And we luckily have a great actor in the community, Dan Forrest, who was more than happy to teach the kids how to do that. And then I have to sometimes, it's like, okay, well, I can't afford to hire somebody to teach them resin art. So I'm a sculptor. I'll figure that out, and I go and I learn how to cast resin, I learn how to do whatever weird art thing they want to do. It's just about learning a new skill or learning to work with a new material. It's exciting, and man, it helps me too. So I think that's part of it, is always being excited to learn a new thing. So video was very exciting. I by any stretch, not by any stretch of the imagination have learned video, but it's fun. It's fun to play with.
Well, the stuff that you've been putting out for the museum, it's great. It's
You.
really enjoyable. And then you do the story time ones and just all the different things. It's just always fascinating.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
it's like, so you learn these different techniques, right? Now, when you're learning a new technique like the resin casting and stuff like that, do you always think to yourself, how can I incorporate this into sculpture work? Or is it just a matter of sometimes you're learning some new thing and then suddenly you see a possibility to bring it into your personal work?
So yeah, sometimes, like with it, it happens a lot actually. Like with the resin, I did I did a little, I did some experimentation with resin in my work, and I don't think you're going to be seeing that because resin is stinky. Oh, it's terrifying stuff. Quite frankly, it is terrifying to work with. And and it's expensive and really messy, like really messy in a kind of like dangerous way. You don't want to get it on your skin. You don't want to breathe it too much. And I don't know. Um, so, but that said, I am glad that I had the experience. Now I do know how to do that. And if I ever have a piece that calls for that, I'll buy some resin and figure it out. Um, yeah, so it's fun. And well, I think that the fact that I make light sculptures really came from the processions. Like I wouldn't be making illuminated art right now if it weren't for Chantel Ritter and learning about those processions and starting to do those at work. I wouldn't have even thought of it, honestly. So it does go back and forth quite a bit. And yeah, I love experimenting with materials. It's
Well,
fun.
I think looking at your light sculptures, the way that has developed has been so fascinating, right? And just seeing the different shapes, sizes, way work with these materials, right? So what happens, right, when you're starting to do a sculpture? Do you think to yourself, right, I need to make a sculpture, or do you wait until the idea comes to you? And when you're working with these ideas, right, so what's the process? Because do you just sit there and do it, or are you sketching? Like, how do you formalize these things?
Well, I find I and I believe this to be true, that the more you work, the more the ideas come. And that so sometimes I I will get an idea for a piece as I'm working on one piece. Like it will be sort of a progression, and I'll be like, oh, but next time I could do this, or and so I do find that once you prime that pump, and sometimes I do need to sketch. Sometimes I'll sketch something out, or um, sometimes I'll have an idea for a shape, but I need to monkey around with it a little bit on paper first. And then it doesn't really, like, the sketches are just for that. They're just to monkey
Hmm.
around, because it's never gonna, the sculptures don't end up, they're very organic the way they happen. So it's never like I sketch something and I make something that looks exactly like that sketch. It just doesn't work that way. It's just part of the process. Um, because the material that I use is very fluid, and it's very plastic as far as how it moves. And so these surprising, wonderful things happen while you're working with it. And yeah, so I will get ideas sometimes looking at something in nature, but more lately, it's just become that I get interested in a shape and I want to work with that shape, or I get interested in a color and I want to work with that color, um, or some idea of movement. Like I've been obsessed with spirals a lot lately. Like I need to make
Hmm.
spirals happen. So it's stuff like that. It's become more formal in that way. Like it's less about like, oh, I'm trying to, because it used to be, oh, I'm trying to capture um, a thing about this living creature like nudibranches. I was obsessed with them for a little while, but it really has become, instead of making something that looks like something else, I'm making something that's an exploration of like a movement, like an exploration of what happens when something spirals, or what happens in a form when you can have these lines follow the shape, if that makes sense. So it's
Hmm.
different ways of creating your movement. So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah,
Yeah.
like that's how it happens. And it's just when people tell me, oh, I have a hard time coming up with ideas, I'm like, well, you need to get your hands moving, because that honestly, you get your hands moving, your mind follows. What is
Hmm.
that saying? Like your muse finds you working, or inspiration finds you working, and that's true. Like that is absolutely true. If you feel uninspired, get your hands moving. Start doodling. Get your hands in some clay and just start mushing it around, and just follow what's interesting in that. But you got to get your hands busy. You can't sit around and try to think up some inspiration. It doesn't work that way. Now, if you're somebody who is constantly engaged, then sometimes, yeah, things will hit you. You will get an idea. But I think more often than not, you've got to be moving.
Hmm. I'm fascinated with the where you said sometimes I get interested in a color. Like,
Mhm.
how the hell I'm thinking of, oh, turquoise is nice. Suddenly I have a freaking skirt. Like, how does that work?
I don't know. Sometimes things just get me charged up. Like I get really excited about a particular red, or and that honestly, that is an example of an inspiration hitting you while you're moving, because
Hmm.
I've gotten really into this quinacridone red. which is this really bright, punchy pink red, and then a quinacridone magenta. Like those colors are luscious, and I've been working with them. And because I've been working with them, I get more excited about them. And I get sometimes too excited and then bad things happen and I have to back off a little bit, or just getting excited about, like, there's really like just giving delicate touches of color just to enhance the movement of a sculpture. Like, seeing that happen is really nice. And there's a ultramarine blue, and when it's kind of sprayed on lightly, I airbrush everything. It's almost like a delicate, it's almost not a color. It's almost like a delicate, smoky thing. I don't know. I just get really excited. See, it's ridiculous. I can't tell you how I get excited. It's just how I'm wired. Some people are not wired for color. You know, some people don't get excited about color. I get excited about color. I get excited about movement, and then what color can do for the movement. Right now, that's where I am.
Yeah. Well, I think it's weird. Your stuff, you look at your stuff, and you know, sometimes because you show the process a lot of the times through your social media, and you can see something before you've colored it, and you can look at it and think, yeah, that's interesting. And then as soon as the color hits, it's like it's something new, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's something new, and like, yeah, of course it should be that color.
Right.
It doesn't seem like there's a separation in the art and the color. It's like it's a natural fit, right? So I remember sometimes I've seen some of your work. I remember it was David Cameron, James Cameron. David Cameron was a crooked politician from here. Crooked, I mean, that's how I feel. Subjectively, might not be crooked, but hey, he's a politician. Who isn't, right? But anyway, James Cameron, he was prepping the new Avatar films. I remember he built a submarine to go down the Bering Trench. And I remember just looking at your work and thinking, yo, have you seen some of Cameron's photographs or something? Because you just think, yo, there's no, like, we have never even been to the bottom of the trench yet, right? But some of your work, you just think that could be at the bottom of that motherfucking trench.
Well, that's
right.
Like,
it just looks like
Sea Life was really a huge inspiration for me for a very long time. Probably like a year or so, I was playing with, or maybe 2 years, I was playing with Sea Life, you know. And I think what happened was, like, what I brought from that was the movement, right? So that was the thing. I think what happens sometimes when artists become more abstract is that what happens is that you sort of begin to distill what excites you about what you're making, and it becomes less about that story and less about making a thing that already exists or a thing that might already exist, and then making something that is really about the purity of whatever it is, you know. For some artists it's something other than, you know, but for me it's movement. For me it's movement and color, and movement being, I think now that I'm talking about it out loud, the most important thing, and then color just really working in service of the movement. And I've tried really hard lately to, if something doesn't need a lot of color, I don't add a lot of color. In fact, I had a piece happen recently that didn't need any color at all, and I just stepped back and I said, okay, nope, I'm not going to paint it. I predict that will be rare, but I don't know what, you know, you have to be open. You have to be open to things changing as an artist. You have to be open to doing something different.
Well, it definitely looks like you're open to that. Because what I find interesting is the fact you are making these big sculptures, and then out of nowhere come these earrings. And so from a place where you're making these big pieces, now you're making these tiny ass things. but
Well, that's,
still
you
with this
know,
delicacy and this look of, of the big sculpture. You've taken that work, that fluidity, that motion, and you've kind of encapsulated it into these small frigging things you can put on your ears. Like, how would you do that?
well, that was just one of those things that kind of happened. Um, I had a spare afternoon, and it wasn't enough time to really get into like a sculpture, but it was enough time to mess around. I wanted some earrings, and I thought, well, I'll just make some. I had scraps too. And the other thing is that, I don't want to be wasteful with this material. I want to have as much of it be useful as possible. So sometimes you have little scraps. Um, so I said, well, I'll just make some earrings. And then, I've really tried to be more of a business person lately, as well as an artist. But I think that that was a way for me to really sort of bring some money in to support the bigger pieces. Um, I think, yeah, I think unfortunately in our culture, we want artists to be so pure, but we do live in a capitalist society, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it. But bottom line is people have to eat. and and polymer clay isn't free, and uh, electrical parts are not free. So yeah, I've really been working on the business side for the past year, really trying to be very serious about that. And yeah, I think it's starting to come together, gradually.
So
But
you
the
sell
earrings
the
are part of that.
earrings.
Earrings are part of it, making it a business, so that I have the art, and that part is, well, even the earrings are still kind of pure, because I'm not making something that I don't want to make. Like, I'm not making, they're all one of a kind. So I feel pretty good about that. I feel good about that. So yeah. So that's what the earrings are, and that's my little lecture about how artists. We should make it okay for artists to be business people, for them to sell their work for what it's worth.
So you can, so people could buy those earrings from you.
They could. Well, not this pair. Um, but if I am gonna have ones like this on my website very soon. Monday, hopefully.
And that's Cindy Blair artwork.
CindyBlairLightArt.com.
I mean, that does seem very, man, it seems like the right time, right? Because we got Christmas coming up,
Yeah.
kind of. Like, I know it's just getting to October, but whew, time
Well,
does
last
fly.
year I sold earrings from October through the end of February, I think. And so yeah, that's how long it stretched out. And I'm gonna do, I think that's a good, because I can't make earrings year round. It's just too
Mm.
um it's too much. It's too much. But I made Christmas ornaments last year. I'll probably do that again this year as well. And I'm gonna be making pendants this year.
Oh,
So necklaces. Yeah.
interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And can people, because as you said, like you don't make molds of these things. Once a designer's gone, a designer's gone.
Yeah, you might have others that are similar, because I get excited about a shape, and I'm like, wow, I really want to, I want to perfect that shape, or I want that shape in that other color. So you might have similar shapes, but they're also organic. That yeah, you can say that yours isn't one of a kind if you have them.
Okay. And if someone liked the work that you did, say, and there was a pair and they've sold,
Mm-hmm.
could they, I don't know, maybe commission something similar from you,
They could
or
commission something
ask for a
similar.
particular color?
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
And how does someone do that?
They could get in touch with me through the website. There is a place where you can message me on the website, or you could always get me. I'm on Instagram, Cindy Blair Light Arts, and I'm on Facebook, Cindy Blair Light Art. You can always message me through there. And I'm on TikTok. I'm on TikTok as well. Cindy Blair Light Art. So everything is Cindy Blair Light Art.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because I've seen so many people just gush over the earrings and the colors that you use.
Yeah.
It really seems to have, you know, captured an interest.
Social media has been very important. And it has gotten a lot of eyes on my work that I don't think would have been on it otherwise. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah, so I'm kind of grateful that social media happened. Because it does. I think it's really good for artists. It gives us an opportunity to get our work out there and to have people see it. And, you know, even if I didn't have the website, I mean, I've sold a lot of things just straight from Instagram. You know, I've sold a lot of things just because people see it on Instagram and they immediately contact me. Sometimes before I even have paints on a sculpture, I'll get a message going, "Hey, I would like to have that." Okay, well, I'm going to be painting it purple. Okay, that's great.
Okay. Oh, that's incredible.
Or actually, I did have someone reach out to me one time. Actually, this has happened a couple of times where I've had somebody reach out. I really love that sculpture. I don't know if you saw the two. I did two that were like these twin crystal candlesticks that I did sculpture on top of. And I had gotten one of them sculpted, and somebody reached out to me and she goes, I want those. I want them. I said, yeah, because it's going to be two, you know, they're going to be a pair. And she was like, I want them. And I said, okay, well, I haven't painted them yet. What colors would you like for me to use? And she sent me some pictures of this beautiful sea glass green that she wanted. And so that's what I did. So I'm pretty open to working with people.
And do you, because I know a lot of artists, they have like an artist mark. Do you have a mark that you put on your work so people know it's a Cindy Cooper Blair original?
I don't. I don't sign the work in any way. I think that it's pretty, I think all my work has a kind of a look about it, but what I do is I actually have a specifically formatted sort of sheet that comes. So like if you were to buy a sculpture from me, I would send you this, I think I call it a care sheet or something like that, but it's got a picture of the artwork on it and it is formatted in a specific way. So it does give you sort of like, if you can hang on to that, it gives you the provenance of the piece so that it came directly from me.
Yeah, like when you grade a comic book.
Yeah. So it's got that, like, so anybody who's gotten a piece from me, with a couple of us, well, there's been some exceptions because I only started doing that, probably 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. So most people have gotten one of those sheets. And if you're watching and I didn't give you a sheet, please let me know. But I think a few have fallen through the cracks, but a lot of people have those sheets. You know, and also everything I make goes on social media. So like if somebody else were to pop up with it, it would be like, although I should probably mark my work. I haven't. I mean, you know, when I was in graduate school, they really sort of were like, don't sign your work. That was a thing. Don't sign your work. But I guess I could sign it where no one could see it. I should probably be doing that. So maybe I will.
It's unique. I haven't seen other people do anything that looks similar. Like I've not seen something where I go, oh, is that Cindy's? And then be like, oh, no, Kennedy Smith. Who's he? You know what I mean? It's never been that.
I wish that was my name. Kennedy Smith. That's fabulous.
Now, I wonder, like, because I know I've kept you a while, because I am fascinated about the smaller sculptures and the the bases. Do you have time to talk on that?
Yeah. So so the ones that I've been doing since, how long ago did that start? Maybe, I don't know how long I've been doing them. Definitely it was a thing that happened, I think started during 2020, where I started working with like old lamp bases or old light fixtures, you know, vintage light fixtures and things like that. Um,
I kind of feel it might have been around this time last year, maybe.
yeah, I don't think it's been that long. And I just started, gosh, I don't even remember how I got the idea to do that. I don't remember. But I just, have a feeling something fell in my lap, like a piece fell in my lap. And I was like, ooh, let me try
I
that.
I think you. If I
I'd have to
remember
look back
right,
at my Instagram feed, to be honest with you.
I think you might have either gone to an art fair or something,
Yeah.
looking for one thing, and you stumbled upon a
There was an
bait.
antique shop that was going out of business. I know
Mm.
that that's where I got, and I don't know why we went there. If we went there for that specific reason, I don't know, but I don't remember. But I think it would happen before then. But anyway, like I just started having, really started wanting to make pieces that responded to something else. So I would find these wonderful, like pieces of depression glass, like these little lamp bases and things that are just this white, milky, reflective glass. And I thought that would look so cool with the light. And then sometimes I'll find shapes that I really like that, and the work responds to that in some way. Um, and then, so I've been doing that for a while, and, and I've done some hanging lamps. That may be where it started. It might have started with the hanging lamps. But then most recently, so there's another art center in town, called River Oaks Art Center, and it's an artist co-op, and they do a lot of good work in the community as well. And they have, every year they do a 5x5x5 competition. And so I've been trying to enter as many jury competitions as possible. That's just part of, you know, building an art career. And this 5x5, nothing can be over 5 inches in any direction. So most of my works lately have been around, between 11 and 20 inches. So these are much smaller. And
Mm.
because they're so small, I'm working with these, I'm not working with fixtures in the same way. I wanted to, so you can give as much real estate to the actual sculpture, because you've only got 5 inches to say what you
Yeah.
got to say. So, so yeah, so I found, there were these really nice little porcelain fixtures or sockets that actually sit really nicely, and they're sturdy enough to just sit, and then I can put something on top of, I can put the sculpture on top. So so the past 3 or 4 weeks, 3 weeks, I've been experimenting with that. And I just finished another one right before I hopped on the call with you. I'm very excited about it because it feels a little different than the others. And then I did find, I was messing around. I don't know if anything will happen with these, but I did find on Etsy these little, what are they called? They're called ceiling roses. So it's just
Okay.
a tiny little thing. And these are apparently antique. They're in really good shape, honestly, for antiques. But maybe I'll do something with those. I don't know. They just arrived today, and when I ordered them, I didn't realize they were coming from France. So, so
Damn.
they were inexpensive, but then the shipping, I just didn't realize the shipping was going to
Yeah.
be so. So that has happened to me more than one time. You have to be careful on Etsy. They don't. It's not always obvious that something's coming from Italy or France or something. But anyway, um, the salesperson is a brown paper parcel, I think is what she's called, and she has a really lovely shop, so you should go check her out. So that something might happen with that. And just before I hopped on with you, I posted a picture of the one that I sculpted today. I would try to pick it up and show it to you, but I don't know. I don't know if it would show well on the video. So do you want me to try? I could try.
Yeah, why not? Let's give it a go.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's going to work because see, you can't see because the light. I'm going to send you some pictures. I'm going to send you some pictures. You can put it up. But I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it because it's almost like a new, it's a new kind of look almost. Hold on. It's a new kind of look. So that's pretty exciting. Lots of stuff to keep me excited. And not that you can cut this, not that anybody will care about this, but I had been using airbrushed acrylic paint. Hold on. I'm sorry. I got to go let Mia out.
Okay. No
barking. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second.
So yeah, this is Cindy's studio, people.
Okay. Sorry, I'm back. Look, I mean, Mia comes first. Okay, no, so I have been, instead of with these miniature pieces, it gave me a chance to experiment with using chalk pastels and sort of grinding them into a powder and then brushing it onto the clay or mixing it into the clay in a way that so that then that's the color and I don't have to paint it afterwards.
So brushing it on dry, or do you mix it into a wet?
No, you brush it on dry. So, okay, well, there's two different ways. One of the ways was just to brush it on dry and just make sure that it gets into the clay so that it won't scratch off after it's baked. The other way was you mix it in a way so that it almost looks like like marble.
Okay.
So it sort of threads through the clay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing with both of those things. So that's pretty exciting. So.
And is this a technique you can adapt to the larger sculptures, or does it only work with the small things?
I don't know. I think I might be able to do a little bit on a larger sculpture. I think. I am gonna try to scale it up a little bit and see what happens. We'll see. Yeah. Stay tuned. I don't know. I think the way I did it today, maybe it would take, I need to buy some more pastels. I think it takes a lot. It takes a lot. I think, well, I guess it didn't really take that much. We'll see. I think I can is the answer. I think I can.
I mean,
like the little engine. I think.
How long does a sculpture actually take? Because that's one thing I don't think we've actually talked about.
Yeah. So, so the process that I used before I started working with polymer clay would take, 40, 50 hours, like a solid, if it was my full-time job, I would finish one in a week. So those took a long time to do. And that was, I would sculpt a clay base, like a regular clay, like a water-based clay base. And then I would wrap all of that in like plastic wrap. And then I would do like a rice paper mache over that. And then I would paint it. And then it was a whole thing. This, for the past year, I've been working, or longer than a year, I've been working with polymer clay, a translucent polymer clay. And that is much faster. So I can finish a sculpture in, well, as far as the sculpting of it, not including the painting, I can finish the sculpture in like 2 to 4 hours.
Oh,
2 to 6 hours, depending, depends on a lot of stuff. But
yeah.
I can finish the sculpting part in a day, right? And these miniatures are even a little better. So the miniatures have been like 2 to 3 hours sculpting. And then but then you've got to add to that the whole sort of like wiring or rewiring of a fixture, depending on what shape the fixture's in. Sometimes I get a fixture that hasn't seen love in a very long time and they're crazy rusty or whatever. And so, things have to be sanded and spray painted and rewired. And So that sometimes, takes an hour or 2, 3 more. And then if I have to paint a piece, then that's another afternoon. So, 4 to 10 hours depending on the piece. I think that's good math. I think so. That's basically my weekend. So that's why, honestly, that is how I was able to turn lockdown into a good thing for me, because Eric and I are very social creatures. We were very social creatures. And we have friends that have amazing get-togethers, as you know,
Mhm.
from having been here. And this has really helped me center on my art more and be more disciplined. And so um, I do. I don't know. I'm happy. I'm happy with it this way. I still get to see my friends, maybe not as often as I did, but this is this is important, and it feels good. So I'm gonna keep doing it.
Well, yeah, I definitely think you should,
Mhm.
because the work that you're doing is just incredible, and the
Thank you.
evolution that I think most people that know you has seen in your work is just mind-blowing, right?
Oh,
And I think it really makes me happy to see you at this stage in your life, right? After everything that's happened. You know what I'm
everything.
saying? Like the conversations we used to have online, the conversations in Chicago, and
Yeah,
now you're here. It is so motivational, right? Those moments in life where everything is kind of shit, and I wonder what the fuck. I
right,
just I often think of you and where you've what I mean, your evolution.
right.
And I just think I need to be more like Cindy. I need to be like that. So you know what I mean?
I think Kevin's pretty fabulous. You be Kevin. I'll be Cindy.
Yeah, I don't know. Karen ain't doing great,
I
but
took some I took some calculated risks, and they paid off.
mm, but
You know,
I think I think that's the thing though, that you can see in just your growth and everything like that, that you haven't been afraid to take those risks.
right.
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like you took.
moving here was one of the most going back to school, going back to Pratt after 11 years, and then moving here, and really, when Eric was like, I want to be with you, and then just saying okay, and not knowing that
Mm,
there was an art community here. Um it was a risk, and there were friends who were like, I don't even know if I can be your friend if you do this. Um but it paid off. It worked. He was,
yeah.
you know, eh, this was the right fit for me. So, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I was given the chance. So, just by, so so yeah. No, I mean it, and that I think that creating is like that too. You have to take the risk. Like, I think a lot of people are afraid when they get an idea or something, their own practice starts leading them down a path. They get afraid. They're like, well, that's not what I do.
Mm,
I'm a painter. I was trained as a painter. I paint. And you have to be, you can't be afraid when that's not working anymore, um and your heart or your soul or your creativity or whatever is leading you elsewhere. I think sometimes you have to listen. You have to take a chance. It's not always going to work, but that's the making process. Shit doesn't always work, but it'll take you somewhere else.
yeah, and
Stay
you
open.
seem to really take that journey well. You take that journey with openness and happiness. It seems like just
Some
seeing the
days are
different.
better than others. Yeah.
I just remember the coffee. Is it coffee or the tea drawings that I remember seeing you do one time, which was
That was the
incredible.
teens. That was the teens. The teens saw on Instagram or something that somebody was doing paintings with coffee, and they were like, "Let's do a coffee painting workshop." And and I talked to the owner of the coffee shop, and she was like, "Absolutely, you're doing it here." So I mean, that's one of those things that came from just being open to the teens and what they wanted to do and their creativity. Yeah. And yeah, like it wasn't like coffee painting became a thing that I did, but I had fun with it for a minute. Yeah. I mean, it
Mm.
definitely like, yeah, being open to that, to their creative curiosity, right, has been really powerful for me.
Yeah, because I've seen you do print stuff to the
Yeah.
extent that you made the favors for your wedding. You know what I'm saying? You
Oh,
did those
yeah.
prints there.
Well, yeah, that's where did that come from? That was something I learned. That was something I learned at Pratt, in the education program there at the in the art ed program. I learned how to do that, and it's a very enjoyable process. Some of these things that I get to do, it's not so much that it's going to be like my art or the thing that is my art, but sometimes it's just something that feels good to do
Mm.
on a Sunday afternoon with a few friends, couple glasses of wine, like that's what it is. Sometimes it's just something that feels good, and that's healing in a way. um
Mm.
the whole printmaking thing, there's another way that I learned to print make, um and I think I learned that either that was an art teacher conference thing, or it was like it was something the teens wanted to do, but learning how to do this, like these rubber linoleum. It's not linoleum, it's like a rubber cut. And
Mhm.
there's something about sliding your cutter through the rubber stuff. It's like very like, oh, it's so satisfying. And I remember bringing that to my veterans, and they were like, we could do this all day long. Like they were just like, it's so like satisfying. That there's some things that you can do in art that just are so physically satisfying. And I don't mean that in a nasty way. Like
Mm.
they just feel good on a
Yeah.
level that's just sort of like almost like self-nurturing, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. And the crazy thing is, I think about as I said, like, just watching your evolution is the way that it's inspired so many people around you. It's like your brother now makes wood sculptures, your
Mm.
dad does metal work, like Ava, she does paintings every now and again. It's just fascinating how you
I
seem
don't think
to
that stuff came from me though.
but
I
I think it's just seeing you take these steps. It seems to have given other people maybe the confidence to explore their creativity.
I mean, maybe I'm part of it, but I think I have to give my brother so much credit for also being a very curious, um and he has surrounded himself within his own community with just really amazing creative people, and I've done the same, and I have to say that that is huge. um I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, I don't think, without that support from my creative community. So one of the things that I've done that I think's been really helpful, and I know my brother does this too, and I think even my dad to a certain extent, like he has some super creative, a creative friend or two that he's decided to, sort of keep in the stable of friends. And
Mm,
so I have these, there are groups in the community that have sort of formed, and I've been very open to being called into those groups. I've been very lucky to be part of those groups, but it has helped me a lot. I get so much from them, and I hope that I give them half of what they give me. But you know, there's all kinds of support about like, okay, so how are we, you know, how are we going to be artists who have businesses? You know, how are we going to be artists who do this or that? I just joined an online group of polymer clay creators, and that's where all this stuff about experimenting with pastels came with. It's a Blue Bottle Tree, but Ginger, I think her name is Ginger Altman, and she runs this group, and she's incredible because she's like a scientist. She experiments with materials, with this specific material constantly, and she experiments like a scientist. I mean, she'll try it this way, and then she'll try it that way, and she'll try it like she'll like record her data, like as far as like, let's see if what happens if we bake this clay 10 degrees higher. Let's, you know what I mean? Like and she just records her data so carefully. So that's really cool. So now she has gathered together a bunch of people, and we go online and we meet in Zoom groups. It's almost like a knitting group for people who work with polymer clay. It's crazy. So, and I've been part of a knitting group, you know, like, and those ladies are very important to me, you know? So just allowing yourself to be part of these different communities, I think also too I think that's where my brother gets some of that. You know, he's a visual effects creator for movies. He's worked on, like, I just want to brag on him for a second. He's worked on like some of the Marvel shows that are on Disney Plus now. He's worked on some of those. He's worked on a lot of movies that, you know, you've seen. And so I'm very proud of him, but I think he's very good at surrounding himself with a creative community that's been very supportive and inspiring to him. So, yeah. So that's where that comes from. I have to give him credit and he helps me too. So he's part of my sort of creative support group, you know, like, especially since I've been the whole making lamps thing, like maybe that came from him. Oh, yes, that's where it came from, because we decided we wanted to collaborate on a piece. Yes, we decided we wanted to collaborate. That's what happened. And we did collaborate on a piece, and it sold immediately. And so I was like, and I was excited, and I didn't want to stop doing that. But his day job takes a lot from him. He's got 2 twin girls that are 12. And so he said,
12 now.
Yeah. So
every time I see them, they're bigger.
I know, it's insane.
I guess that happens.
One of his daughters is an amazing. They're actually both really good artists, but Josie like really puts her heart and soul into it. So, but anyway, like, so that's what happened. Was it was just like, oh, it'll be a while before we can collaborate on something again. So I started looking for fixtures to respond to. That's what it was. But yeah. So anyway, but I can call him. Like we're both on Marco Polo, and sometimes if I'm having trouble with how am I going to rewire this fixture, I'll just dial Chris up. I'll send Chris a video going, help. And he's wonderful, and he usually responds pretty quickly and helps me problem solve. My dad's really great about helping me problem solve sometimes. Yeah, or some of my other artist friends, like I'll be like, like especially when it comes to business stuff. I'll tell you what, I have artist friends who are really incredible business people, and I've gotten a lot of great advice from them. And I have another friend who's a sculptor, Jim Hurst, and sometimes he's on my creative support group list. So I mean, everything is about a community, I guess. And it's great now. There are online communities, and there's another artist community I'm in with called the Artist Mother Collective. It's an online group, but that's a really lovely community of women who make art. So yeah, go find a community. Everybody needs to just go find a community.
I know some of the
genius. Bad freaking genius. You and I wouldn't know each other if it weren't for that community.
Yeah, bad genius, the Joe Q boards.
Yeah, that's right. It started with Joe Q.
How it all started.
God bless him. because none of this, I don't know how much of this would be happening right now if I didn't know you guys. Talk about an emotional support group. Jesus.
Boy, yeah,
I might not be here.
those were some crazy
Yeah.
times.
I told Eric before, like, I think y'all are partially responsible for me being mentally well enough to have a relationship with him. And he did the rest. I mean, we together, he and I did the rest. But yeah, if it weren't for you guys, y'all saw me through some shit, man.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny, and there's a few creative people that doing these interviews and a lot of the film stuff I do. It's brought me into contact with a lot of different people, and I remember at a festival over here, I think 2 or 3 years ago. There's these guys, Jason and Jim, and they were doing this 3D VR stuff. I guess all VR stuff is 3D, but I don't know. But they were doing this VR stuff, and I was just speaking with them both during lockdown. And Jim has joined a lot of these photography and different art groups online. And because I remember I just started seeing him post a lot of photography. I was like, yo, where's this all coming from? And he's like, yeah, I joined these online groups and we go and we talk, and it's about different cameras and the lenses and stuff like that. And so yeah, talking to a lot of the my friend Matt, he just had this during lockdown. He was producing videos all throughout, and he just put them all together, and he had the film launch just earlier, no, it was September, in August. He had that launch, and
That's so
watching
cool.
him do this residency at this art installation place in Reading was just fascinating. So yeah, it's very intriguing seeing how different people work and kind of coalesce their ideas with other people.
Yeah, it's exciting. I love that. I love that stuff. It's very exciting.
Mm, mm.
So.
Well, yeah, I feel that I'm taking up all your day, but
Yeah, we've got to go talk about being social. We're actually, we're headed to see Gar. Yeah,
splendid,
yeah. We haven't seen
splendid.
him in
Yeah.
a really long time. Like I said, we don't socialize much anymore, but
There's,
yeah,
yeah, I remember when I came over, we went round his house,
yeah,
and we just hung, and that was fun. That
yeah,
was fun.
yeah.
But
He's good people. Talk about, like, he's part of my my little. I haven't. We don't get to talk as much as we used to, but he used to be a big part of my art support group when he was at the museum. So I will
mm,
definitely tell him you said hi.
yes, yeah, give him his wife, because his son's in the army now, right? Is he?
Yeah, his oldest is in the Air Force, and
Mm.
his second son just is in actually he's in the band at Northwestern with Jack.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so they're both in college
Ah.
now. Yeah,
Oh, this
everything
is
moves
great.
forward.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed. Well, again, tell people how they can follow what you've been doing and commission stuff from you.
Well, you can find me at cindyblairlightart.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Cindy Blair Light Art, LIGHT art. And yeah, if anybody wants to talk about a commission or anything like that, you can just send me a DM and we can talk about it. You can also message me through the website and I'll get that. But yeah,
Hmm.
just let
Oh
me
yeah,
know.
they should also join your mailing list.
Yes, join my mailing list, and you can also do that through the website.
Mm.
I need to
And
get better
people,
about
because yeah.
sending mails. Sorry, email blasts. I don't do it very often, but I need to get better about it. It's one of those business goals I have.
But with Christmas coming up,
Hmm.
and Valentine's Day, if you do that,
Yep.
hey, those earrings a great little addition. I mean, to be honest with you, people, I would give my significant other a sculpture. You know what I mean? Get them the earrings, but also get them a sculpture, because nothing says I love you, I appreciate you more than a goddamn original Cindy Cooper Blair sculpture.
Yes, people have brought them for people for Christmas, and they've gone. I've had a few people buy them for birthday presents. I just sold a sculpture as a birthday present for somebody, so they do make a lovely gift.
Splendid. Well, all this information, all Cindy's socials will be in the episode information. So people, go follow her. Just being able to see the different stuff she does over, months and whatnot is fascinating. Like, she often does the painting online and stuff like that. So it's a real treat, people. Follow Cindy. She is an incredible person. And Cindy, I appreciate you spending this time.
Yeah,
And
can I really quick plug the museum too?
yes,
If y'all want to see some really great art content, the Alexandria Museum of Art, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok at the Alexandria Museum of Art.
They've got the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got YouTube too. I always forget about YouTube. Yeah. We got YouTube as well. And our website is themuseum.org.
Cool. And have you got a procession coming up at all? Or?
We do. I'm a little nervous about it, given the state of everything. Hang on one second. I'm sorry, Kevin.
Right. Because there is nothing like the procession live. You might see, you'll see pictures and you will be flabbergasted, but seeing it live, woo!
Yeah. So, we have a procession coming up on October 16th. There will be video of that for sure. Well, I'm hoping we can get some drone footage. That would be so cool. October 16th, I'm a little nervous about it, given the state of COVID and everything, but we are going to try to be as safe as possible. I'm going to make everybody mask, and apparently our numbers are down in this area. So from recently, I mean, still think they're pretty up, but yeah, so I'm excited about that, because that'll be the first one we've done since December 2019. So everybody's pretty excited, I think. So yeah, that's happening, and that'll be a beautiful, hopeful thing.
Yeah, bringing that light to the community, as you always do.
Doing my best. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for your time, Cindy.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right, you take care.
Bye.